Hey there. So moving on from the base layers, first of all I'm just going to put the yellow onto the shoulder pads. Not the best idea, but that's what I'm going to do. Just checking everything was in focus there. What we should see is as we lay this over, it gives it a much yellower colour and should just allow the colour gradation done underneath to show through, so you'll still get strong definition, but it will now be yellow rather than that sort of drab mustardy colour. And this won't, I think I'll do a final stage with yellow mixed with white highlights just to give it that little bit of extra zing. But as you can see, it's really just blocking in, almost like your base coating again, and it starts to create a much nicer sort of yellow tone. And yeah, there you go, you should be able to see that clearly. And there's the difference from that to that. You want the brighter yellow tones. I think if I was using sand tones, I kind of want to reserve them for when I eventually get round to Hack Islam. I quite like the colour scheme that Corvus Belli uses for them. But you can see the highlights maintained and the yellow paint just acts as a tint, which is pre-highlighted for your pleasure. This is just one way of painting. If you look at the old masters, a lot of the way they painted was they would, depending on which particular person you're talking about and which era, they might underpaint entirely in sepia tones, so the entire painting would be done in tonal quality. Later on it might have been more sort of black and white, and different people had different preferences, but quite often the entire painting would be done as a tonal painting, and then colour would be introduced in layers of glazing, which would then tint the different areas. Creates high levels of contrast and definition, and then the tints sort of even everything out a bit. And so yeah, I don't know if you think that's any good, but it's sort of starting. Also, with the translucency, it allows me to have a little bit of control over the kind of fading quality again, so that if I want, I can just add a little bit more yellow here and there and start to create some of those kind of colour fades which you see on Angel's work. Although I suspect he's probably using a wet in wet technique, and I don't know, I never seem to get those right, so kind of working in a method that I'm perhaps a bit more familiar with and content to use. And I might come back to these in a little bit. Once they're a bit drier, and just add a little bit more yellow in places just to bring out the yellow into the planes of the panels. Yeah, so how do you think that looks good? I'm going to get the other guys done and I'll get back to you in a mo. Okay, so all the yellow's done, and I'm just going to start trying to work in a little bit of a highlight edge straight into yellow straight away. Try and make this the final video about these guys, and just a tiny bit of white mixed in with all the dregs of the yellow. I don't even really want it to. This is perhaps the second to last highlight, I don't know. Probably redo edges and such forth. What I don't want is to completely cover, and some blending to take place, and want tone to be even, or an even fade at least. Don't mean I'm going to achieve it, but I'll give it my best shot. Partly working, well, I haven't really waited for this to dry. Just moving from many to many, and however dry it is how dry it is. So I'm pretty sure the longer I leave it, the less blendy the blend will be. That's fine. Like I say, I'm not the best painter in the world. It doesn't really matter. As I was saying earlier, or in the previous, the more practice the better I'll get. So, and this is the other reason for starting on your sort of grunts first, if you like. And don't be afraid for the paint colours to change, it doesn't really matter. As we try and emulate life, tend to find that the colours vary a lot. I'm just trying to sort of make the top half easier. I just want some colour variation so that there's a kind of a blend. As you see, the paint dries. I mean, I'm using a wet palette, but it really helps so much. So now I'm going to wet up the shoulder pad and blend back. Start getting that kind of much more even blends, and just again trying to create definition. Try and bear in mind definition at every step of the way, and so you can sort of, again, it starts knocking them back again. In fact, I might not. Yeah, no, I'm going to do this to all of them, and then if necessary I'll bring them back up to yellow in a bit. Okay, catch you in a moment. So that's the sort of light yellow highlights put on, and I just watered down the dregs of my yellow, and I'm just going to apply one last coat of just watered down yellow. I just want it to act as a tint, so that all these highlights can sort of be bound together. Again, it's just to even out the tonality, and also because I want to keep the yellowness in there. I don't want it to become all washed out and just sort of pasty white. There are other ways of doing this. You know, if you use multiple tones of actual yellow paint, you can achieve a nice yellow with lots of definition. But yeah, I'll get back to you in a minute. Okay, so that is yellow all done. The next thing I'm going to do is moving into the black. And I'm actually going to try and do this as a fade. So I'm going to do this by adding water into the area first. Yes, I'm running with water because I don't actually have any special mediums or anything. I think part of what I'm trying to do is, I suppose, demonstrate that yes, fancy mediums make a difference, but no, you don't necessarily need them. So here we go. Just working that out from there. So you get that pretty neat fade. Well, for me, that's pretty good. For somebody who knows what they're doing, maybe not so much. Again, I'm just gonna that area first. And it's time. I want to work with, I want the paint to go out of control. I'm going to fade it from tip to middle and back to middle. So I can barely see what I'm doing. And across the back. Again, it's a bit howly outside, so you might hear a bit howling wind. Sorry about that. I cannot control the weather though. If I had those kind of powers, I would be a wizard. There it is. Howly wind. So a term I believe used in Hawaii for foreigners. Howlies. Goddamn howlies. Yeah, I come from the southwest, so bit of surf culture in there. I don't really know much. My brother is a great surfer. I am not. So again, just running that in. Bit of black. So I'm starting just at the edge that I want to fade from, or the darkest tone I want. Running that in and around. Trying to get a bit of pigment in there. Whilst it's still wet. Just moving it into the rest of the face mask. So you get that sort of purple black tone. If you see those side by side, it's probably really not easy to see, but you can get reflections off. Just drops it virtually down to black, but keeps that purple tone around the edges. Okay, so I'm just going to get the rest of these guys done. So So I've done the dark onto them, and I'm going to just use the dregs of the black, just about 1 part black, 1 part water mixed, and I'm going to just use that to paint in all of these. And let the underpainting that I've done do the work in terms of providing tone for the weapons. I might do like a last minute grey highlight over the whole thing, but just trying to get a variegated black tone. This might even be a little bit too thick. So I'm just going to add a bit of water on my brush and move this about a bit. And it's a bit better, you can start to see the highlights and such forth becoming visible. I just find this kind of technique, one of the reasons I like inks is it's not exactly lazy, but it kind of is a lazy way of creating I suppose neat transitions. The wash tone will, technically it's shading, but yeah. Also, I suppose if you were curious about terminology, the correct term for shading is shading, but the correct term for highlighting is actually tinting. Well, if you're using white tints, black shades, or tones. So tonality really refers to the amount of black being utilised. So you'll find in printers that I'm trying to get all the little pouches as well, because I want them to be black so that they look like clips which are magnetised or something and stuck on to the webbing rather than actual pouches. And I'm darkening these up first because I don't want to end up running dark over light where I'm doing sort of the light highlights. You'll probably find that these dark areas get a lot of fine highlight as well. But I do like to run different processes for different areas depending on material. So you create a differentiation in the painting which the eye will actually pick up based upon the method by which you have painted them and how much sort of the order in which you've laid paint up actually affects the colour. So you could actually get several varieties of black, for instance, by underpainting the different areas. I mean, if you look at a Turner painting, there's sort of 2 or 3 paintings there a lot of the time. There's a very dense underpainting which will often just be sort of abstract colour, and that is in order to achieve the lighting effect that he wants. He utilises it as a kind of a guideline for how everything else is, and it also has an effect on the overall image. So as you can see, this has sort of generated a very matte black looking weapon, which almost blends into the colour of the leathers, but because the leathers have that kind of slightly shiny quality from the original undercoat, it still creates a degree of separation where the hands are almost lost in it, but the hands are about to be highlighted up, and so again differentiation will be achieved that way. So just crack on and do this to the others and I'll get back to you. Okay, so that's all the black done. I'm going to start highlighting this grey. I think this is going to be a very, very slow process, so you're going to have to bear with me. Again, I'm going to be applying water to the edge. I want everything to come from. And then applying pigment, and then blending away from the edges, trying to clean fades if I can get them. Sorry, paintbrush in mouth. I won't clean fades if I can possibly get them, but if not, I will take whatever I can get. So as you can see, this is going to be a very slow process. A lot of adding pigment, taking pigment away. Trying to get this clean fade. So I don't just want an edge. I want a fade. And that's what's really difficult in my opinion. Anybody can do the painted edges. Getting those clean Vallejo-esque fades. That's a different ball game. So yeah, I'm going to keep running this. It may well cut out at some point, but I really want to give you the opportunity to just get an idea of actually the kind of time you need to spend doing this, so that you're not just rushing it and boshing through and making a mess of it. It really is a case of take as much time as you possibly can. And part of the reason for putting water on this is to stop the paint from just drying out instantly. Also to start the bleeding. You can probably see that my paintbrushes are a bit battered, but right now I'm not going to replace them. At some point when I'm flush in the future, that will be a thing that I need to do. In the meantime, you sort of start getting that fade quality. I don't even know how that dude gets in as neat as he does, but well, practice, as we were talking about before. Practice really does count. I'm going to continue doing these as sort of long play videos. I mean, if you decide that you get sick of them or what have you, but much anything, it just personally I find it quite useful to see what other people do. I'm doing these as long plays so that, well, if you're bored, and not even bored, if you just want something to paint along to, so you have, I probably keep saying this, but somebody to paint with, I suppose. I'll try to keep talking, but this is pretty painstaking work. I suspect it's going to take me most of the day to get these 3Ds done. And then you can see it really is a panel by panel job. I think there's any getting away from that. That's really annoying me. Yeah, see, I'm already making mistakes. Clean the main brush. Get water. Get damp. Get pigment in there. Blend. Rinse and repeat process. Oh, I'm actually really pissed about that first bit. So as I said before, part of this is about recovery, right? So clearly messed this up. But if I make that the edge of the phase, that would work a little bit better. Not sure. I think the word is painstaking. Isn't you are in pain? And it takes a long time. But as with everything, don't rush it. I think there's enough of a fade there. Okay, it's a bit messy, but I think it works. And yeah, as long as it's creating definition. Again, sorry. Paintbrush in mouth, and not the right way around to speak properly. Yes, I stick a paintbrush in my mouth primarily because it's actually easier to get to and you can change over faster. Mouth and find. Actually doing something like this. Can't change paintbrushes fast enough for my liking. Because often with this kind of acrylic paint it's dried before you know it. And it's a right pain in the bum. So yeah, apply pigment, take pigment off, keep everything well rested. And again, I will not hold this back with I think some kind of bluey, greeny, turquoisey kind of colour. I want to kind of achieve an element of that Vallejo look, which I rather like, but without copying entirely. So I'm just going to keep working around. It's very difficult to know. God, the edges of that guy get so small so fast, isn't he? But also he's not really not doing everything. Just this I'm just going to use a sort of dry brush technique. I know I'm trashing good brushes, but to be honest with you, working this small, don't really have much choice. You can see the sort of almost one side of one leg, almost. Just got to do from the knee down, and I'll flip leg sides, and I'll do the other side. Oh sugar. Rescued. And again, I might just be a little bit more sort of less highlighting and just try and keep it to the edge of these main lines on the inside edge of the leg, so that I don't have to try and stick my paintbrush in really awkward gaps. So if I get into it. Which one? Sorry, I'm coming out short. I'm just trying to get the right angle so I can actually see. Crotch. Yes, you do have to dab the crotch. Sorry, start speaking quietly when I've been you know what it is. It's something to do with the concentration. So you can just sort of see and just picking out the leading edges. Trying to, in case of these really fine edges, I'm just trying to let the water do the work for me. And I know really, I suspect how he gets really clean fades in part is he probably uses glaze medium. Glaze medium is the stuff that your paint is suspended in. So every paint consists of a pigment and an emulsifying agent. In the case of acrylics, I mean these are very highly developed, but basically PVA is the emulsifying agent. PVA is obviously glue, but it's a polyvinyl acetate. Oh, I just did that really badly. You see, you rush even a little tiny bit without thinking, and it all sort of you get punished. A miniature punishes you. I suppose miniature's prerogative. So miniature the paint. But yeah, so it's made of essentially acrylic is a combination of PVA and pigment. And that stuff that's completely slipped the name from my mind. Like medium or glaze medium or whatever. Oh God, I've always done that the wrong way around. Talking too much, not paying enough attention. That emulsifying agent, that's what the glaze medium is normally. So unlike water, it suspends the pigment in it and it dries by itself, and it will hold an even term. I think the term is aqueous dispersion, which refers to the even dispersion of pigment within a emulsifying agent. So you can make a much more consistent emulsifier or glaze medium, and you can leave it so that it's very movable. And by virtue of the medium itself, it's proceeding to completely, not completely mess it up, struggling here, struggling. These kind of fades I think are, well, for me I find them incredibly difficult. And again, it could be because I'm not using glaze medium, I'm not using the correct emulsifying agent. I don't even think they're that expensive, so at some point I'll probably buy some, but for the moment, partly I just want to show that actually, you know what, you can get pretty damn good results without buying every sort of product out there. And in fact, I would even venture to go so far as to say you shouldn't buy all those products out there until after you've been able to achieve halfway decent results, because they only really help you if you have a reasonable idea of what it is you're trying to achieve, and then what they do is they kind of facilitate the better achieving of that thing. So like in this case, it's like once I can actually do this way, having emulsifying agent, really all it would do is make my life easier rather than make me lazy. Technology is a wonderful thing, but it does have a tendency to make one lazy. How many people write letters anymore? Why would you when you have instant communication probably in your pocket at any given time? You can talk to anybody in the whole wide world. But that doesn't so much devalue a letter as make people lazy, and you see it in the breakdown of people's ability to speak English, which is actually kind of irksome. Okay, I'm just recording this right away. Didn't realise the video had stopped recording. So as you can tell, this takes quite a long time. I don't actually have any idea, but that's the grey, sort of initial grey highlight finished. And his neck and sort of all around his arms. So I just thought I'd show you that before doing the rest of the guys. Yeah, I think it took me about 40 odd minutes, so yeah, none surprising the video cut out. Wasn't thinking, I was too busy trying to get this done. So yeah, I'll catch you in a bit once all of these guys are done. It's going to take a while. So it's a couple of hours later, at least 2 hours, maybe a bit longer. All grey highlights are done. Now I'm just watering down some jade green paint, and I'm going to water it down quite a lot because basically I just want to tint the leathers. Oh god, I'm fearing doing this. Don't want to mess this up. I just want an ever so slight tint. Don't want the green to overwhelm the... See, that's probably still too green. That's fine, I'll just remove. So what I'm just trying to do is just get a sort of subtle tonal variation and tint all of the leathers. Have an ever so slight green quality. Maybe I haven't chosen the right colour. The other thing I want us to do is to just get into the gaps a bit and give it a slightly matte quality to the purple in these. And don't want to get too much pigment anywhere. Which is why it's quite heavily watered down. Make sure I'm keeping it a wet, very moist brush. This is partly issue of pigment density, partly basically if you unmoisten your brush, your pigment will get denser and denser and denser. Yes, having the right pigment density mix first is your best call in many respects, but again, that only really works if you're using proper emulsifying agents. I am not. And look with the yellows, I really only want this to be a very light tint. Also you can see it immediately creates differentiation between the holster and the legs. What I don't want is enough pigment to create light and shade of its own accord. I just want enough pigment to give a tint to what's already there. Also helps to blend fades a bit more. Is it acts as a kind of filter for the paint that's underneath. Much in the same way as I use the yellow on the shoulder pads, but I use the yellow much more densely. And I'm not entirely happy with how the shoulder pads have gone. If you can see that they're sort of they're a bit liney and not fadey enough in some respects, which is annoying, as it means that they're not completely perfect. Not that, you know, we shouldn't strive for perfection really, not obtainable. I am just going to use a brush to remove some of this. Like I say, I don't actually want the pigment to be too damp. I am trying to emulate that sort of the effect that is achieved by Angel on the sort of the leathers, just with a slight green twist to it. Sticking to the green and purple colour palette that I'm going for with the Crejador. Well, I'm going to use green and purple as like the colours that bind, so I think I said before, I think it's ironic, the green and yellow, they're meant to be Brazilian maybe. I never sat down and thought about that until afterwards, but then I thought, oh, that's convenient. So I'm going to stick this, you know, that's the answer I'm sticking to now. These guys are clearly Brazilian in origin. Certainly at least South American. Although I would have thought, if you're just, you know, no matter what country you come from, you want to get whingy about your neighbours. You know, British hate the French and all of Europe actually. You know, Americans hate Canadians. Australians hate New Zealanders. You know, we always hate our neighbours. It's part of the rules. Just how it is. It's nothing personal. The Catalonians and the Spanish hate each other, the Basque and the Scots and the English, God, the Scots and the English hate each other. You know, Welsh and the English hate each other. I don't think there's any real intentional malice there, and I'm sure if you asked either party they'd be like, oh yeah, I know English people. You know, ask the Scots and they'll probably go, oh yeah, I know English people, which are alright. Not all complete twats, just most of them. But culturally we hate each other. You know, there is a definite division of some nature. And for some reason when we start talking about our nation, we get terribly protective about it and start being far more arsey about sort of political and I mean, especially within a nation like the UK, you know, we'll sat on each other's knees here. And if you ever look on the map at England or the United Kingdom, the map actually lies. The United Kingdom's teeny weeny. It has a far too big a population for how big and much land there is. And to be quite frank, there should be international sanctions that prevent us from breeding. But, well, okay, maybe that's taking it a bit too far, but, you know. It's like 75 million people on this much land is a bit ridiculous. I think it's 75 million. You'd have to go and check my facts and tell me that I'm wrong about that one, but it's not far from the truth, it's something like that. So yeah, bit too much green on these arms, I think. I've already tried that. That's fine. So you see, it's just running this green tint, it creates a degree of separation from the holster, and going to get this on the hand. Also from the holding the gun, I'm going to do a couple of extra details because the gun's actually, maybe I should use a thinner wash, but the gun's actually lost sort of all, not entirely lost it. I almost preferred it when it was white though. So yeah, the green is going to go much more lime green. I mean, you can still see that it's distinct because it's painted in a different way. Green gives a slight factor, and I've just got to get into his neck as well. But also just acts as a kind of a binding factor. The tint becomes a universal factor, so it drops in dark places. Also, if you notice, it where there was a kind of shiny quality of the purple that's underneath coming through, it's knocked most of that out. Okay, so I'm going to crack on and get these other guys tinted, and I'll get back to you in a moment. Okay, that's the greened up state done, so you've got that kind of nice green finish. Also, it'll tie the uniform as such back in with the sort of green purple colour scheme that I want to go for ultimately. So I'm going to get into the lime green now, and this is going to be sort of experimental, really, I suppose. Part glaze, part fade, part just to find out what happens. This is just using neat lime green Vallejo paint. It's refreshed my wet palette, so the moisture content is high. Still keeping second brush to hand for kind of I suppose paint removal. I don't want this to get too finicky, but on the same note, I don't want to be lazy. I'm hoping this doesn't end up looking kind of yellow. I'm hoping the yellow on the shoulder pads will act as the counterbalance as far as that is concerned, but we shall see. Getting this sort of depth of colour. But no, it's very difficult to decide any of these things. I suppose ultimately it's up to you guys whether you think this is any good or not. If you like it, you can see how these effects are achieved, and that's the main thing. Oh god, sorry, I don't know if you ever get this, but when you've been concentrating, I mean, I've been painting for what, I don't know, 5 hours or something straight now. My ability to concentrate is... I have been pausing, by the way, yeah, you know, making a cup of tea, Because, you know, people working full-time jobs, they take breaks and make cups of tea, and actually your efficiency goes down. And I'm sure different statistical sources will give you different numbers, but concentration span of a human being is only about 45 or 20 to 45 minutes. So not very long. And it's all fair and well to sort of supersede, break these limits if that suits you, but like I said, I think I've been painting some points. I've been painting for like the highlighting all the grey areas. I think I was painting for at least an hour straight on each miniature, and by the end of it you kind of have eye strain and getting a bit of sort of hand strain, and like just holding. If you can hold the brush loosely, this is a good thing, right? That will help you to last longer in terms of you won't get to a point where you're clenching the paintbrush and you can't actually manipulate it carefully enough to get it to do what you want it to do. The other thing about a loose hold is it forces you to trust it. You might also notice that a lot of the time I have my hands touching one another, and this is so that I maintain the best brush control that I can. Okay, it might not be good enough. But hell. Sorry, I'm concentrating a little bit too hard now. I say my brain's going a bit now. Sure exactly how these are going to turn out. I'm hoping that they're good enough, but we shall see. If you don't, smudge it with your finger. This is the professional way of doing it, or not, as the case may be. Overhead light is useful. In some respects the overhead light can distort colour. But I often find if you can see more clearly once you revert back to sort of normal light as such. Also once everything's dried, it comes out looking better than you thought it did. Because you were so busy looking at it so closely and condemning your every error that you can always see as you're painting it. It's only ever when you come back to things, artist trick. If you think something is rubbish, leave it overnight, come back to it the next day when you can't remember everything that was wrong with it before, and then look at it with fresh eyes, and often solutions will become apparent. Again, part of the whole being able to correct is the true skill. And I suspect you'll find that these really good painters actually they probably make loads of errors, but because they're very good at correcting them, you can't see them. And as with anybody that's good at something, they probably make it look easy. And ultimately they practice so much that they make less errors than the rest of us. And they've earned that right, in my opinion. You have the right to make less errors than us, because We've spent hundreds and hundreds and thousands of hours practicing. And as you probably started to get the general gist, I have a great deal of admiration for anybody that can practice anything for a long period of time. But don't become a sports personality, because they don't have any personality as far as I can tell. That's perhaps practicing one thing to the exclusion of all else a little bit too much. Because, you know, I mean, credit where credit's due, athletes are pretty amazing people. They certainly exceptionally good at doing one thing. But that's it, that's all they can do. Just that one thing. And especially dealing with something like tabletop stuff. Or the way I'm going about doing it, I might be a bit mad in doing this, but I think the great thing about tabletop stuff is the diversity of skills. You know, there's the painting, but there's also the scenery building, which will be coming soon, if it's not already out there. Going to be scratch building. I'll go over some stuff to do with process as well, because as we're coming up with colour schemes, you know, sort of top and tails, slash belt, boots and hats, slash of course I can't remember all the combinations. You know, there are certain combinations, and you see it in the fashion industry where, you know, you put certain colours in certain combinations, and if you don't do them in that limited number of combinations, actually it doesn't look right, and you can never quite place your finger on why. The reason is because the colours are in the wrong places. Like, if you ever paint a miniature and you want to do it in quarters, it's really important that you have a unifying colour running over the entire miniature, so that those quarters have some kind of binding element running through all of them, otherwise it looks rubbish. I've tried it in the past and it really does look rubbish. So it might just be something like, I don't know, you decide to pick out a series of panels as just being metal, so you use silver. Okay, so I think this is going to be a running theme, but yeah, battery died again. So apologies people, I think this is probably going to be ongoing. I can only film 20 minutes at a time, and you know, painting, losing track of time, easily done I think. So heading into final stages. I'm just using gory red to highlight, well, sort of slightly recolouring, I suppose really. Belt. Partly just as a shout out to the red being the Nomad's colour. Partly as a shout out to sort of the colour scheme that you see in the chorus belly pieces. It's just a few details really, it's not nothing much. Fact, might just do all of the clips. No, I'm just going to do the belts. Bits of leather. So anything I previously tagged in as leather, I'm going to just tuck in red. These straps over the comlogs on the arm, belts, and let's try and keep it in the lands of crazy nomad types. doesn't have to be perfect as ever. I'm also going to run some final highlights in using, looking at some of these guys and noticing that where it uses high contrast kind of stuff. Yeah, no, it's a complex terminology stuff. Especially on these more recent things, I noticed that, like, especially where I've got it's going to run like a white highlight along edges, unify block, pick out some key edges, and same on the sort of lime area. I'll do a sort of lime white. That was just edgings, and I think then that will be done. I still need to do a couple of bits and pieces on the guns as well, just to. I thought I might fade in these sort of works at the bottom here into white, and across the sort of the grenade launchery type fitting or flamethrower fitting, whatever it's meant to be. I think it's meant to be a flamethrower on these guys. Just pick out some key details. But yeah, so just going to pick out all these red bits and I'll get back to use. See you in a mo. Okay, so that's all the red done. I'm just going to use it's cold grey. I'm just going to touch in all the little clasps and everything. Gone for cold grey because I think a lot of the time other games have ended up going for, sort of metallic-y look with clasps and stuff, and that kind of high fantasy look. Whereas in this, really, I want it to be more like high sci-fi, which would, like actual science fiction, as in a fictional setting based within the realms of science, as opposed to science fantasy, which is a futuristic setting with no real bearings on actual science, just sort of pseudoscience, if you will, which is actually most settings, especially these days. So as you can see, it's very little work, it's just little dots of grey here and there, but it'll just make the difference in terms of binding everything together. Okay, so I'll just get back to you in a moment when I've done that. So then, just using the same grey, and start putting a colour fade in on the bottom. I know I already took this up to white once, and now I'm just doing it in a bit more controlled manner. I want the colour fade across the magazine from the hand. This is just to sort of create some of this differentiation in the weapon, and I really like what Vallejo's done on his. So I'm trying to concentrate the pigment up around the top here. And I'm quite happy to let it glaze over the whole area, and I will do. I'll start to dry my brush a bit, remove the excess. And just on this side in particular, drop in more pigment close to the hand. So I'm trying to see, the problem using water here is it wants to draw the pigment away from the high areas, but it doesn't really matter because I'm trying to achieve a fade, not not a highlight. I'll run a highlight later with now I have over one of his fingers here, so I just need to remove that carefully with another brush and cut back in. So I want the highest pigment density on the edge of that finger. And along the edge where the panel that I want to make separate and distinct is, even down to virtually nothing to lower down the clip. If you can see that, should be able to see that clearly. And then I'm going to do the same on the the under barrel mounted piece where I've put away. So I'm going to put mortar over the entire area. In fact, I'm going to dry this. So I'm literally just doing trying to get the fade in on the under barrel mount weapon piece rather than keep the under part black, so that this becomes a distinguished item from the rest. Fortunate thing about doing this is it will run the light colour into the dark recess. Again, I want the lightest edge to be furthest away from the barrel. Same on this side. And then I'm going to try and pull the pigment out of the recess, and I will then, sorry, probably can't see what I'm doing, pull it out. Just trying to pull out so that the recess is dark again, and I'm leaving the under-slinging part black so it looks more like part of the main gun barrel arrangement. And then I'm just going to run a couple of leading edge highlights, and just ever so fine. Again, this is all about definition. And I'll just paint in this line here, and so you should be able to see, and just picking up key lines as delicately as possible. I want these to be super narrow, almost just the inference of lines rather than actual lines. Sort of super neat look about. And it sort of just starts to bring the weapon to life, I think. So yeah, I'm just going to do that on the other guys and then I'll be back with you. Here we go then, moving on to the final stage again. Just done most of the details. Now I'm using a wet brush. Maybe not quite that one. Kind of a half loaded, loaded. If you fully load a brush, it means that it's fully loaded with paint or water or whatever it is you're discussing. Half loaded would mean that you've wiped off excess. I don't want this to be too strong, nor too weak, so let's hope that this comes out okay. And I'm just going to be removing as I go. So I'm just trying to pick out components and then remove any excess paint. Which will create these edges. Do keep your other brush clean and essential. I suppose I haven't actually talked about it. I've been all caught up in the actual painting process itself, but I am going for Corregidor with Nomads, because I don't really like any of the other Nomad faction. Tunguska's basically a bunch of bankers and mobsters, which I don't have any time for. But Kunan's just a bunch of nut jobs, which I don't really have any time for. And Corregidor is sort of a workers' union, really, and if any of you have ever worked a rubbish job, I've worked more rubbish jobs than I would ever like to. You might share in the plight. I'm not sort of socialist or anything daft like that. I do not partake in political ideologies apart from best person for the job kind of stuff. But so I went for the Corregidor. I mean, okay, I've got a lizard tag, but that's because I love tags. I'm going to aim to have every tag going. And just adding a bit more on. I kind of want it's all about the fades, isn't it? All about the fades. I'm just trying to create definition. Yeah, so I'm not really keen on Bakunin either, apart from the fact that they are the developers of tags for this faction. That to one side, I don't really have any time for them. The background suggests that they are a bunch of nut jobs, whereas these guys are just sort of hard working people that get shat on all the time and go and beast people for shitting on them. And you know what? I'm pretty down with that. Sometimes I wish I could have beasted my management in the past. They're pretty useless. I don't like them very much. I don't think they like me very much either, to be honest with you, because I would argue with them and point things out to them that I just didn't want to hear about what they were doing. So finally, I'm just going to try and run in sort of a leading edge. Just clean up slash create a kind of point of high contrast. So I think we have the guns in. I'd just as well do this whilst I'm doing that, and that is I'm sort of running these final highlights in and around the gun. And I'm just going to take a leading white edge on all of the yellow shoulder pads. So again, I just want to catch this with one edge. I do need to have enough paint on my brush to do it though, and slightly denser, so this is so I'll take it and just kind of obliterate that a little bit green because that was annoying me. And I'm not going to cut in a little bit. Not a lot of, because I really want to use this as a borderline, if you like, between the, especially the yellow and the lime, just to help to make it all stand out a little bit more. So especially if you look at the military orders, there's a lot of high contrast kind of shadows, and I'm also going to run just along this edge. Very bottom edge is going to be. Now, this is partly because I don't like how the yellow and the green sit on one another. A bit well, I've been a bit sloppy with the green, and I've cut over the edges of the yellow, so it's also a way of cleaning that up. But just some sort of last white edging highlights. More to, like I say, sort of bind together the whole of the yellow area, unify it. It's not howling today, that's a good thing. Sometimes these videos are done in a day, sometimes they're done over a couple of days. Well, it's difficult to know at any given time what the weather's going to do. Weather is as the weather is, and I just get on and paint stuff as much as I possibly can. There's been some building over the past couple of days, so I've been having to find appropriate slots. And that's stopped, which means I had to be doing other things and not making videos, which is fine, but a little bit frustrating. I'm trying to make it so I can release a video every day, even if it's not necessarily a very long video, because welcome to YouTube's. What I've observed from YouTube over the years is if you're going to do it, you need to be quite prolific. You don't really get time off. I'm hoping that this will work, that you guys will think that this is worthwhile endeavour and support. Like, subscribe, you know the drills, comment, tell me how rubbish I am, Or if you like what I'm doing, tell me that it's great. That'd be even better. But whatever it is you want to do, and I mean apologies again, I'm trying to keep everything in focus, but I always seem to hold the miniature when I'm painting in just the place that I didn't focus it on, which is my fault, sorry. I hope that you're finding these useful, even if it's just to have someone to paint with, as opposed to, do you think any of the painting stuff's actually useful, text-wise or what have you. Also, I just hope it gives you a sense of how long you should take painting stuff. I mean, what you're not seeing is the amount of time I'm doing in between where I'm messing stuff up and correcting. But yeah, I'm just going to get all this white done on all these other guys, and then I'm going to do a final touch up on the... No, then I'll do the lime green highlights, but yeah, I'll get this done and then I'll be back with you. Ding-a-ling-a-ling. So I've done all of the white fade on the barrel and the white edgings on all the shoulder pads. And now I'm just gonna run mixed a bit of white with lime green, and I'm just gonna run really badly. I'm not gonna worry about it too much. I'm just gonna run a highlight with lime. And white mixed together. This would be a tint. For a tint is mixing white with something. Mostly you tint it. There might be some popular belief to the contrary. This is the correct use of terminology in painting. You believe me or not? I don't know, go check for yourselves. And you can shout and scream at me and tell me I'm wrong. I don't mind. That's what I got taught anyway. This is just sort of final highlighting. It's also to create a stylistic difference in the painting of the yellow and the painting of the green. I want the green to be sort of very bright luminescent. I'm just picking out little details in the green as well, so it do run the risk of it turning into edging, something I don't want. So I'm just blend it back in again as well. If you do sort of a light and colour layer, blend layer like this, I don't know, it's not necessarily the best result. Depends what result you're looking for, I suppose, really. But what it does create is a nice depth of colour, and it gives you a sort of nice three-dimensional quality. Picking up the top edges of the things really at the moment. I'm not trying to paint the whole thing. Really, I'm trying to avoid painting the whole thing. what we'll end up with is something which is a sort of coherent luminescent might be a good word for it. Finish where a lot of those sort of fade qualities, and I want everything to be distinct and stand out a lot. And you can see, I mean, I keep saying what the best painting of it, it's like painting's about processes. If you have a process for something and it works, rinse and repeat. And the other thing that I'll do is it'll create commonalities. It's actually mostly commonalities that the eyes pick up on and notice. So you can see that, like, on the main body here, I'm actually just not actually painting it too carefully. Just trying to get it to pick up on all the details. Just enough to sort of bring it to life. And to give it a sense of, say, luminosity, brightness. Get some of that high contrast that you see in Angel's work. I've just been looking at some of his hand painting, where he's hand painting symbols and icons on, and I thought to myself, there's a challenge. I'm a muggins and now, but can't really resist. So at some point, not on these. Probably my JSA. JSA are going to be sort of my main faction, I think. They're going to be like, I don't know whether I'm ever going to get into tournaments, but they're going to be the ones that I build up most. One, to me this is like an anime game. I love Japanese, I love samurai since I was a little kid. I was 4 years old when I got given a book and pictures of all these sort of brightly geared up warriors with huge, like, ridiculous swords and looking awesome. And yeah, I've kind of never really looked back. So if you look at his JSA stuff, he's got all like the squirrely patterns on the leg plates, and ugh, it's enough to make me sick, but in a good way, you know. Yeah, that's what they're meant to look like. And I will alter the uniforms a bit to suit me. I figure, you know, all of these forces, they are big enough that there would be uniform variations, and there'd be certain regimental differences, or it wouldn't just be like, well, here's the Japanese sectorial army. So presuming it consists of millions, you're going to have regimental insignia differences, and all that kind of like, yeah. So there you go. Oh no, sorry. Some last little. I think it's all shaky. Ugh. Again, I'm not trying too hard, I just want to give a bit of an extra highlight. Can't you see my handshake? Sorry. Oh, there you go. So just, oh no, missed a bit of the jawline there. So yeah, oh, also missed just the top of his head up here. So there you go, just sort of bring everything. As you can see, each time you add a layer, it just sort of does that little bit extra to neaten up. So yeah, I'm going to get through all the green on all these guys and I'll be back again. I think after that, I'm just going to tackle the luminous blue, and then I'll try and do some kind of glowing effect, I think, on the blue stripes. It's an ever so slight dry brush, mostly because I borrowed the stripes, they're slightly uneven on each side, which I think is inescapable. Don't know if you can see that. But I'll get that done and you'll be able to see everything clearly in the pictures at the end, so catch you in a bit. Okay, so make or break time, final thing to do. I'm just going to run this highlight across here and hope that looks good. So there's a teeny bit of the luminous blue. Mix with a bit of white. Just make it a slight. Okay, I'm going to do this and then I will block the blue back in. But as you can see, it looks a bit messy. Makes me very unhappy. I'm trying to, I guess it's an almost dry brush. Okay, it's just whilst I'm on camera, I'm just going to grab a little dab of the luminous blue and literally, I mean minuscule amounts, because as you can see I'm literally running it into a tiny little line. And if I say literally again, then that would be amazing, right? Especially on this side. This is probably just out of focus. I'm just using the work surface to rest on. It's about between having enough pigment on the brush to do what I want, but not so much as to ruin everything. I'm not sure about this. I'm not sure at all. So yeah, just ring in that tiny bit of white. And then I'm going to cut straight over the top with the blue. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to cut purple and tight again, but that's not a problem. I'm just going to do that on everybody else and I'll get back to you guys once I've done that. And oh, you know what? I'll cut in the purple quickly right now. This paint dries, you know, insanely quickly. Acrylic paint always does, and especially these kind of modern paints. That's royal purple I'm just using. It's the darker purple that I have. Again, I'm using it very thinly. Try and hold this so you can see. Just want to cut this. Clean. This clean. And yeah, sorry, I should be talking more. That's because I'm brushing. Brushing. And this is, I don't know, I think they're turning out pretty well. Just clearing up these lines. Making them as neat as possible. I think that's more like it. That still retains a bit more of that kind of slightly glowing quality. So yeah, I'm just going to try out the rest of these guys and then I will, oh my god, then I'll base them, and then so hopefully next time you see them they'll be all done, based on everything. Okay, so I lied, one final stage, messing up their booties, making their booties look muddy. So literally I'm just going to use a smear it on, take it off kind of a, this is a golden brown mixed with, but I don't know, messy booties. Might put a bit of ink on, might not, don't know yet. Darken it up in a minute. But as you can see, I'm really just sort of splodging it on, trying to get a bit more around toes and feet, and done. Let's brush. I will take off as much of the paint as I can. Sorry if I keep on taking this out of focus. Then, well, I haven't had purple on, so So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a bit of the brown, take a bit of the purple, mix them together, take it off to one side. Gives me a sort of grey brown. Purple and brown, they all neutralise each other, you know. Can smudge some of that on. Maybe take it a bit darker. If you didn't know, it's about pigment as well. What they call grey. They have a kind of grey that they call chromatic grey. It basically involves using pigmentation to neutralise itself. So for instance, purple and brown basically neutralise itself, and if you didn't know, on the colour wheel as such, you have 3 core pigments. So you have, unlike light, which is red, green, blue, in terms of pigment, your primaries are yellow, red, blue, and basically you can utilise these 3 colours to neutralise each other and create grey or black. And so chromatic greys are sort of semitones, if you like. And I'm just going to remove. So now, in fact, I'm going to do one last thing, which is I just have some very old brown ink here. I'm going to water it down just a touch. Yeah, I'm going to use this straight out of the lid because I'm lazy. Just testing on a bit of tissue paper that I have to hand, and then just dab that on around where I've dabbed on the other mud, and in fact this starts to show that you could get an awful lot of detail out of these menus using glaze techniques. Using my other brush, I'm just going to smudge it, remove it, and blob on some final bits, give me some darkness around the foot. So yeah, I have it. Is it worth doing the muddy feet? I don't know, I quite like doing the muddy feet. It makes me feel like when it's complete, it's like a bit battle damage as well, helps to make things feel complete. Very inexperienced at well, I've done quite a lot of mud in my time, but battle damage, ooh, not so hard, but maybe in the future. So yeah, I'm just going to muddy up the feet and then I will baste them, and the next thing you will see is them based. Get in. Almost there. Here they are, all based up. I've put them on the custom bases that I made. I think it looks pretty good. I may have used slightly too much glue, but I'm not massively familiar with epoxy, so it's the first time. So, cool minis or not, you decide. I'll give them a quick twizz as ever, so you can see them from different angles. You can see on the bases there are the compass points, so they are set up with their line of fires. Just trying to keep these in shot and in focus. Yeah, tried to give you I don't know, I tried to make these look as good as I can. These are first Infinity miniatures I've ever painted. So yeah, I hope you're liking them. They are massively detailed miniatures. Yeah, this is the beginning of my Corregidor Nomad Force with their Nomad bases. I hope you like the basing as well. That's been one of the hardest things to get right, I think. And I hope you like the idea of this sort of a hacker icon. And I know I could have put like unit icons on each of the bases so that all of the basing was unit specific. It would be kind of nice to have these guys just in so just trying to sharpen up the focus a bit there. It'd be kind of nice to have these guys with their own unit icon on the thing, but it's like I would have had to have had each base custom made, and the more variety, the more jobs it would have just gotten ridiculously expensive. So yeah, I hope you think that this is a good idea for basing as well. I mean, I don't know if you can really see how transparent they are, but if I hold the base up in front of, so you can clearly see them, so whatever it is. And also I used epoxy resin because super glue is too fragile, and the epoxy should keep them rooted to the spot. I decided in the end against trying to drill through the acrylic bases. I just didn't want to bodge it up, and also it would mess up the silhouettes a bit. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed, and I hope this is some use to you. Thank you very much. Take care, everybody.